All right, proportion is a statement that two ratios are equivalent. Okay, another way to look at it is that it's a comparison of two ratios that are equal. Okay, that's another way to say it. Essentially what this is saying, but that's just another way to say it. So basically it's two ratios. So for example, if we said that in this classroom, 2 out of every 5 students made an A on the test. Okay? We said 2 out of every 5 students made an A on the test. And there's 20 students in the room, then we want to know how many people made A's. Okay? So if we had 2 out of 5 students made A's, okay, and then there's 20 students in the room, we want to know how many made A's. Okay, so that would be your proportion. Okay, 2 over 5, and that's equal to a certain amount over 20. Okay, now how we solve that is we cross multiply and solve the corresponding equation. Okay, we cross multiply and solve the corresponding equation. So basically we do this. 5 times x, 20 times 2. 5 times x equal 20 times 2. Okay, when we cross multiply, we're going from the bottom of one ratio to the top of the other ratio. And then we do the same thing with the other one. Okay, it's not crossways from top to top, bottom to bottom, but it is cross. It means you have to cross something. Okay, so now that equation then is 5x equal 40. So how do I solve 5x equal 40? Brandon, how do I solve 5x equal 40? 40 into 5? Well, which one? Those are two different things. 5 into 40. The reason it's 5 into 40 is because what are we multiplying by in the problem? 5. We're taking 5 times x. Remember, to solve means to isolate the variable on one side of the equation. Okay? Remember, to solve something means I'm trying to isolate that x by itself. So to isolate that x by itself, I have to get rid of the 5. To get rid of the 5, we divide both sides by 5. Remember, the other way that we would put this is like this. Okay, that's the other way that you could show it. Okay, on the left side with the x, those 5s cancel each other out, leaving me with x. Over here, we divide 5 into 40. 5 goes into 40 how many times? 8 times. So x is equal to 8. Okay, once again, that's where we came up with the 8. Okay, so that's what a proportion is. That's how we write the proportion, and that's how we solve. So what we're saying then is, back to our original example, is that 8 people got A's out of the 20. Okay, because we said 2 out of every 5 students got A's on the test. So if there's 20 students in the room or in the class, 8 of them received A's on the test. Okay, a little high probably for a class of 20. You really don't want 50% of them making A's, and that's almost 50%. Okay, so any questions on the process before we move on to another example? All right, let's move on to another example then. Let's see here. (12/C) is equal to 3/1. Okay, so we're going to cross multiply. Now, when you cross multiply 2 fractions or 2 ratios in this case, the numbers that you come up with should be equal to each other. Let me give you an example before we move on to solving this. If I had 3/4 is equal to 25/100. Okay? If I cross multiplied that together, in other words, I went there and there. 4 times 25 is equal to 3 times 100. Well, what's 4 times 25? 100. What's 3 times 100? Do those match? So this is not equivalent. Okay, what it should have been is this. It should have been 3/4 equal 75/100. Now when I multiply, I have 4 times 75 is equal to 3 times 100. 4 times 75 is what? 300. 3 times 100 is 300. So this is equivalent. Okay? So that tells you whether or not it's equivalent. If it's equivalent, then it's a true proportion. Okay? If they come up with the same numbers when you cross multiply, then it is a true proportion. If you come up with different numbers when you cross multiply, then it's not a true proportion. Okay? That's why we can solve it by cross multiplication when we have a missing term. Okay? So now let's back to the problem. We're going to take C times 3, 12 times 1. C times 3 is equal to 12 times 1, which means 3C is equal to 12. 3C is equal to 12, then what do I have to do? Staley? We have to divide by 3. Divide by 3 to both sides. 3 into 3 goes 1 time. 1 times C is just C. That's why you get C on that side. Then you have 12 divided by 3. What is 12 divided by 3, Isaiah? 4. So C is equal to 4. All right. We have 12/5 equals 24/D. I want you to try that one on your own. When you have your answer, raise your hand so I can come by and check it.